And we are live in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good morning, everybody. This is Lamar with Grit, Grace, and Progress. I'm here with my man here, Greg Battle, my co-host, and my man, my Ace Boom Coon, who's been with me for a long time on different projects, different events, different all kind of stuff. But Greg has been a good friend, and I think that if you think about our times in Cleveland and on these podcasts and different social media platforms we share, different communities we share online, I gotta say that we have been consistent as friends, and I will actually call you family because it's been that long, and we've had all kind of discussions on air and off the air. So with that, how you been doing, man? How's your week been?
This has been a stressful week.
Yeah.
My dad continues to deteriorate, but we continue to love on him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, one of the things that the caretakers of those who have memory diseases like dementia and Alzheimer's, or the combination of them, it can be draining on you.
Yeah.
But as a family, the consistent care for the individual is what matters.
Mm-hmm.
So keeping Dad on his routine means that I have to make my life routine, which is totally, I don't have time for me. I retired. I used to tell people when I went to work, I come to work to rest.
Right.
God uses you. He uses you where he needs you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Having that Christian foundation for me has allowed me to continue to re-energize every day that I wake up.
Right. Totally get that, man.
And
makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I mean, life is struggle, man. We go through times of where our, just getting our families to, dealing with families, illnesses, children. For some reason, looks like my camera just did a freeze. I'm like, what's up with my camera, man? It just did a freeze on me, man. I'm like, whoa. Don't know what happened there. I mean, you can hear me, but I got this look like, man, I don't know if it's a smelly smell I smell or is it a grumbling stomach. I don't know what's going on, but my video just did a crap out on me, man. Let me see what I can do here to get my video working properly.
The devil is a lie.
Yes, he is, man.
One can get behind you.
Yeah, man. I'm like, what in the world just happened? So I got to sit up here and do some behind the scenes switcheroos, some magic, and see if I can get my video back up, because I'm looking like with the stank face, man. I'm like, what in the world is going on? But what? That's kind of
try to make me full screen and see if it comes back.
Well, I know you can go full, but I actually took my video out, so I'm gonna see what I can do to get me back in here properly, because I don't need nothing to distract me from what we have to do today. Because it still has a frozen look on me, man. I'm like, what in the world? Let me come out of there, put Greg in there full screen, and come back with me. And I am just frozen, man. I just got this look like, what in the world?
Look like you're frozen in time.
Yeah, dude, like for real. Like
I should do a screenshot of that one.
No, you don't gotta do
and then post it and find out what captions people can come up with.
You can't, because that's a funny one, man. That's just a funny look on my face, and I'm like, what are we doing here? Yeah, it's like
for me, it's like, did you really say that?
Yeah, it's like really weird. Let me see if I pause my video. Yeah, it's like really looking funny there, man. I don't know what just happened.
Put it back in there.
Let's see what we do here. See if something changes. I'm looking at it and I'm like, what in the world? But you
Now
know,
I'm frozen.
that's technology, man. It just does this. And I'm like, this is not the day, because I had a really good show lined up for it. So, I mean, we got your video, but I guess
We can just come out and go back in, right?
no, I don't
We
want
can
to do
make
that
this
because we're
a
live. We're
feed.
live on the air, and I don't want to do anything like that. But I'm just looking at it like, why am I froze up like this? So we got a lot of good things to talk about today, and these are really some good topics. And one of them is being intentional ignorant recognized as being strong? I've noticed that a lot lately, where you can bring a topic up to somebody that's really obvious, or something that either people can say, I don't know about that. Can you tell me more? But instead, they will push back. I don't know anything about it, and there's no willingness to know more. And that was highlighted this week more than ever with I can't remember her first name, but McMahon. She's married to the WWE wrestler. She's over our education department, the Secretary of Education. And I saw this video that that caught my attention, and I was like, wow, this is something, because I feel that we can do better as a nation if we go ahead and have the willingness to learn from one another, the willingness to just want to be better people and have empathy and understanding. And that can only be done if you ask the question of something you don't know, is tell me more. And for me personally, I could be in a conversation with you, Greg. You could tell me something like that you're dealing with, or you could tell me something about an organization you're part of that I've never heard of. And instead of me engaging in a conversation like I understand, I would say, what is that? Can you tell me more about that? Then we can have a really respectable conversation, because I can take it as a listener and saying, well, you're informing me of something. I can take that information then and share it with others, whether it's good or bad, whether I agree or disagree. We can do those things. So I want to bring up this. Go ahead.
It comes back. It comes to coming to foundation and understanding about communication.
Right.
Because you hear that people listen to reply,
Right.
listen to learn,
Right.
listen to find out where the catback is.
Mm-hmm.
There, just to go back to the beginning of what we learned in college about communication,
Mm-hmm.
there are 5 things necessary for effective communication.
Yeah.
And that's having a message,
Yeah.
having a way to send the message, whether it's word to mouth,
Mm-hmm.
reading a book, um, listening to a radio device, television that's carrying the message,
Yeah.
and having a sender and a receiver, and then you have to have feedback.
Right.
There you go. You're live.
Yeah. I had to had to do a switcheroo, but I don't have the proper stand here. Let me see if I can get this stand to work right.
Like,
Oh, you like that?
that mic is really not.
Yeah, I'm trying to get my camera here to do something, because I had to. This is actually me now sharing from my. This is me sharing from my phone now. But it looks like it wanted to do like a little freeze on me. Well, yeah, man. I'm like, what in the world is going on? See what I'm saying? Why did it freeze on me?
What you got playing? What's going on in the background? Taking on your resources.
I'm not sure, man. But this looks goofy. That angle I got on me, man. It's like goofy. See if I can put it in front of me better. Yeah, I didn't mean to interrupt what you were saying, but I just happened to come up with an idea of using a different camera. So I got it connected to my phone now, because I can't.
You got a message, a means to send the message, have a sender and a receiver, but you also have to have feedback.
Yeah.
So the person that sends knows that the message has been received right.
Right.
Because your feedback, how you feed, and people don't communicate
Right.
like that no more. People don't want to do that, and then they want to get upset when there's misunderstanding or or they
Yeah.
and I know that I've not been heard right.
Right. No, you're
But
right.
everybody gets offended
Mm-hmm.
because I told you, and you're supposed to know and remember and teach our kids and grand,
Yeah.
to be that way. And so they get that when the children
Yeah.
reflect back to them what they've learned
Right.
because they're on when they the
Right.
only way to keep up keep a see everybody else do.
Exactly. No, I totally agree
So
with
we
you.
we are we are regress we are regressing.
I'm going to jump into this.
But willful ignorance,
Go ahead.
the willful ignorance
Mm-hmm.
is the problem.
Got you.
People want to be stupid.
Got you.
And if you accuse them of that, then they get hurt.
Right.
Their feelings be hurt.
No, it is.
I don't but you can't answer a straight question, yes or no, because you're afraid that you might be wrong and then get redirected or corrected, and their egos are so fragile. Come on,
Yeah.
man.
I think a lot of do with pride, self-pride, because you feel ashamed that you don't know something when you are sometimes expected to know things. I've experienced that, especially with people that are known to know a certain topic. And I do a lot of research, so I'll bring something up, and it's almost like they look at me as outshining them or putting them down, when actuality it's just like, let's just have a real conversation. So, but I'm going to shoot this one to you, and I'm going to give you an example of what I'm talking about, and we'll go from there.
Okay.
Do we not hear audio on this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We having all kind of problems.
Man, it's just that kind of,
Often.
yeah, this is one of them kind of days, because I was listening to it earlier today, and I had no problem hearing. So this video was done with one of those in Congress, and so I'm gonna see if I can bring it up a different way and see if we can get this thing to play, because it was very, in my opinion, very interesting, and it shows exactly where we are as a nation, and it kind of bothered me, but we'll see.
A lot of different things on Instagram like that.
Yeah, I still don't see the audio here. I'm not sure why I'm not getting it, but I'm not gonna stop because I'm not a quitter. So we're gonna try this again. We're gonna keep trying it until I get this right, because I know, this can be something awesome. So it's coming from a different source, I see. That's what the problem is. Where is it at? And I'm not sure why it's doing that. But anyway, she gets humiliated with the question that she was trying to answer. And it's just amazing that I can't get this audio to come through. And we've played videos on here before, but I hear it coming from another source. Yeah, I hear it coming. Yeah, it's coming from another set of speaker. It coming from some headphones of mine. I'm like, why is it coming from those headphones? So I'm gonna it's just been one of those shows, Greg. We just
The gremlins are out.
the gremlins is out to kill me today. But getting back to that, when you're looking at, like I said, when someone is coming to you with information and there's immediate pushback and the willfulness to be ignorant. Martin Luther King had an awesome a quote that said, the two most dangerous things in the world is sincere ignorance and conscientious stupidity. And we come across these people all the time, and it's almost okay to block something completely out of your mind because it doesn't impact you, or not realizing down the line that it may impact you. And I think that that's a big issue in regards to healing our country in so many areas of our society. but also in our even in our personal lives, our personal friends, our personal family members. I talked to a family member before, and I was like, "Did you vote?" I don't vote, and I said, "Well, why not?" Because I don't do that. Exactly what the person said. I don't do that. But this particular person does not own his own home. He does not have his own vehicle. He does not have a current ID. Had a couple of brief jobs here and there, but is totally dependent on others to make sure that his life is okay. And the person doesn't even realize what voting and his current lifestyle and situation, how the two are in the same space. There's a connection there of why this is happening. And even if you are not engaged in politics on a regular basis, I understand. But having some communication with people about it can give you some insight and some knowledge so that you can be an informed voter if you choose to. And I know you've experienced that.
What they've done is make people believe that if you vote and the person you voted for didn't win the election, then you're a loser.
And that's not the case.
So if I don't get in that ring, then I'll have to have that feeling. But they took civics out of the schools in the 80s.
Nah, I took civics. I had humanities, a class called humanities, and I had a civics class in ninth grade.
Was it in high school or college?
High school, ninth grade.
What year was that?
That had to been around 85.
Right. So in the 80s is when they started removing that.
Okay.
So by the time you get to 1990, right?
Yeah.
There's no.
It's all gone.
There's no understanding of how government works and how that pool of resources of money that you pay called taxes.
Yeah.
How it's distributed.
Right.
They don't want you to understand why the census was important.
Right.
And it was always this human culture that was thrust on us to be defiant.
Right.
You know, but my parents were born 33 and 34, and I'm still blessed to have them.
Mm-hmm.
They learned passive.
Okay.
Right? They learned how to not go along to get along.
Mm-hmm.
And they were very adamant about what they thought was right.
Yeah.
And what they were going to do. But they followed the law.
Right.
If you don't follow the law, then you invite the government into your business.
Got you.
If you follow the law, then they left you alone. And then they learned how to use the community as a resources, because when the community was unified, then you can set up standards for your area. Right. And again, that mode of not inviting the government into your business. If I don't take your money, then you don't have no say of what I do with my money. That's how Black Wall Street and Tulsa thrive.
Yeah.
Right? And so there we go. Oh, that was a hitch that went away. Oh, it's back again.
What's that?
I don't know. That was good. I was listening to the fan in the background.
Yeah, I just noticed my video went out again on you, didn't it?
No, it didn't.
No, I'm talking about, but on the program feed.
Oh,
on the program feed, okay. Yeah. My video went out again. I gotta see what's going on with that, cause yeah, there you go. Got me back on the program feed. Yeah, I'm still trying to finagle with this video thing. I'm gonna see if it'll play again. Let's see what happens this time. Can you hear that?
No. Where'd you capture the sound from? Hey.
Okay, so what I heard was the you couldn't hear that, but the video was playing, wasn't it? Were you able to hear that video?
Not at all.
Okay, so let me try this again because I heard it on my end this time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to bring it in again and see what happens because it definitely worked for me when I played it. And I'm like, okay, what happened this time? What was the difference? What did I do different? Like, what did I do different? But we're going to try to go live with this again, and we're going to see what's going to happen here. Okay. And you don't hear it.
Don't hear a thing.
You see it, though, but you don't hear it. It is crazy.
I don't see it. You have not come off my screen.
No, okay, but it is going live to the. Oh, that's weird because I thought you would be able to see that with the when I put my camera shot in there, it should take it live for yeah. I see you don't even see my program feed when I'm sending it to Zoom. Yeah, that's a different scene. I think that's why you couldn't hear anything. Because typically, you would see my program feed. You would see what I'm showing on air. I think that was the difference. Okay, now you see the program feed. You see that program feed now. So I think that might have been the problem. But I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to try this again one more time. And we're going to make this thing work.
I don't understand why you're incapable of answering.
I'm just not giving you the answer you want.
No, I want the answer, whatever your answer is.
I just gave you the answer.
No, the answer is yes or no. So let's talk about so-called illegal DEI, as you all have called it, a phrase you've continually bring up, that I'm still unclear on, especially after 3 federal judges have preliminarily ruled that your illegal DEI guidance is likely unconstitutional and unenforceable, illegal, as it were. Secretary McMahon, during your confirmation hearing, you were asked by Senator Chris Murphy if an African-American history class violated the administration's position on diversity, equity, and inclusion. You said you'd like to look into it. You've been on the job for a few months now. Have you been able to look into it?
I do not think that African studies or Middle East studies or Chinese studies are part of DEI if they are taught as part of the total history package. So that if you're giving the facts on both sides, of course they're not DEI.
I don't know what both sides of African-American history would be. Would you say that it would be an illegal DEI for a lesson plan on the Tulsa Race Massacre?
I'd have to get back to you on that.
Do you know what the Tulsa Race Massacre is?
I'd like to look into it more and get back to you on it.
Okay, so I look forward to that. How about the book Through My Eyes by Ruby Bridges, for instance?
I haven't read that.
Have you learned about Ruby Bridges?
If you have specific examples you'd like
That
to
was a
cite,
specific example.
I'll be very happy.
It was an
for you-
incredibly
for
specific
you
example.
to submit
I named
those
a
in your
specific book.
questions, and I will look into it and get back to you on
Thank
them. I
you.
look
How
forward
about
to
a
answering them
school
directly.
having a voluntary celebration for Pride Month?
Well, I think that,
Voluntary.
well, let's make sure that in our schools.
yes or no?
that we're looking, no, it's not.
Okay. How about social studies standards that teach that President Biden won the 2020 election?
I think our studies should all be taught accurately.
Yes or no?
I think our studies should
No,
be
no,
taught
no.
accurately.
The question was, do you believe that social studies standards that teach that President Biden won the 2020 election is an illegal DEI? Yes or no?
I think I have said we should teach accurately. We should.
No,
be
you have
on all
not answered
sides.
the question.
Well, I am
I
answering
don't
the
understand
question.
why you're incapable
I'm
of
just
answering.
not giving you the answer you want. but
No,
I'm
I want
answering
the answer,
questions.
whatever your answer is.
I just gave you the answer.
No, the answer is yes or no.
No, the answer is I
The
think
answer
our
is yes
courses
or
should be
no.
taught accurately.
Gentleladies,
Thank you so much. I yield back.
So, from your expression, I take it you heard the video, right? Okay, just wanted to make sure. So, from watching that scene right there is an example where we're talking about the willful ignorance. And the thing about it is no one is asking her to choose a side. We're just asking the question because when you say something is considered bad, like DEI, which we all know that the white women out of the majority of the country benefited the most from DEI. So it's not about choosing a side. It's like, is this right or wrong? So I can understand the questioning can be considered as trickery because this is politics. But if you answer the question, a discussion can then happen. Whether you agree or disagree with the topic nature, like, is it right or wrong? You can start a discussion. But to be willfully ignorant by saying, I don't know, or I have to look more into that. This is something you campaigned on. That means you should know. That goes all the way back to when we watched the South African president with Donald Trump in the office, when they started showing these videos of this genocide, but yet you didn't have any knowledge of the context of what you were showing.
I would have started when she talked about teach history correctly.
Right.
I would have asked her, did you know that there was an African history 8,000 years recorded before you got to Greece and Rome?
Right. Exactly.
So when you start teaching world history and you start at Greece and Rome, you have made about 6,000 years worth of progress in history that ended up making the pyramids and writing, which you want to create as your own invention when, hieroglyphics is African writing. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's
Totally
amazing.
agree. Totally agree, man. It is amazing if you think about it. It's very amazing because we can do so much. We can do so much in our country when we literally choose to acknowledge everything, accept that's the wrong term, not accept everything, but having the willing to have a discussion about everything. Nothing should be left off the table. Nothing should be left off the table for discussion. So the next thing is, we have Juneteenth coming up. It's coming up in what, next week? No, in two. It's going to be on a Thursday, but a lot of the events are going to be happening during the. Why did my camera keep going out when we go to that 2-shot? Is my phone going to sleep or something? I'm like, what the world is going on here? So I'm back. Your audio's off, Greg. You're muted.
Okay.
There you go.
I got my grandson in here and they cleaning up.
Okay.
I didn't want to put the noise in.
No problem. Yeah, so Juneteenth's coming up. I want to just shoot a little video about Juneteenth and get your response on the other side.
And Juneteenth was just another day in the fields.
You couldn't take a day off. No.
And then Papa and them always get something good to eat, and then we would eat and go back to the field.
Go back to the fields on Juneteenth. Oh my God.
What should Juneteenth stand for?
I think it should be a time where you look back and see where we came from, and then celebrate where we are now, or where we are trying to arrive.
It being a federal holiday allows everyone to understand that there's a second Independence Day, a true Independence Day in America where everyone, has a right to opportunity and freedoms. That's truly an Independence Day. It's not only for just black people, but it's for America.
That was a pretty good video, and I gotta give tribute to Good Morning America for that. But one of the questions I have with that, Greg, is Juneteenth just a black holiday or is it an American holiday? When I ask that question, it sounds rhetorical, but I think that a lot of people view it as just a black holiday with black celebrations. In this community that I live in, which is probably 70% Caucasian people, we do have a Juneteenth celebration. I can see it growing as more people get involved, and it is a multicultural celebrated event. But I'm not sure outside of that space in the park, is it recognized or is it discussed or is it relevant as part of American history and truly an American holiday? What's your thoughts on that?
People won't like my thoughts on that at all.
Well, we leave the people for that
We
judgment.
are, we are, we are, as blacks in America, we have been so fragmented that there are people from my culture that will go for the 15 seconds of fame and say certain things that the white folks want to use as their justification of why they do it. Now, at the time we got that Juneteenth holiday, it was a bone that was thrown into society's political arena that did not look at the history of how, after the Civil War and our emancipation, we were still ignorant of the fact that we were free.
Right.
So the celebration is a black celebration.
Okay.
But years later, during Jim Crow, you were not allowed to state your own events.
Right.
Anything that was supported by the majority of the got usurped. Because May was Decoration Day, and the black community went to the grave sites, all those who died in the Civil War,
Right.
and decorated and recognized them, and it became such a big thing that they wanted to make it a national holiday and call it Memorial Day.
Right.
And then the attention was taken off the reason, and like they do with so many things, any black invention, any black creation has to have been a white idea.
Well, during Memorial Day, when when it was Declaration Day, Decoration Day, there were some white civil rights soldiers from the Union that was also buried in those grave sites on that racetrack in South Carolina. There were some, and there were some from the Confederate side who supported slavery. Supported the freedom of the slaves to abolish slavery. So you did have some in there. So we can't really say it was just black. It was the fact that former slaves are the ones that started it. They recognized it. They started it. They made it a celebration. They honored the lives of those. I wish that history and that narrative would be spoken more. Yes, I do. I wish that gives people appreciation for the descendants of slaves that live today, and honoring their ancestors and their contribution to American history. Something that we actually celebrate 2025. We just had Memorial Day, and it was something that was created from a former slave tradition. And I agree with you that
what's going on right now at Wilberforce University is a libation ceremony for Martin Delany.
I did hear something about that.
And he was a freed slave who fought during the Civil War, became a major, first major in the Army for the United States Army, and they didn't even give him any headstone or anything. It was just pressed down. There's a lot of our history they don't want us to know about, because when you know your history and you know where you come from, then you can understand why you feel what you feel.
Well, we can't. The thing about it, though, it's not about more so what they don't want you to know anymore. We can't use. It happens, yes, but I think it's also our due diligence to continue, because no matter what a school removed from education, that doesn't stop us from educating others. And I say
But
that
we
go ahead.
don't unite. We don't come together to agree on different things.
Yeah.
Everybody's in their personal feelings about like this, or I don't think he should have said that, or we don't need to concentrate on kids this and these kids that. It's like until you set your personal feelings aside and understand that we can agree to disagree and still come together to do what's best for everybody,
Yeah.
you know, that left and right and Democrat and Republican, I've seen it change clothes and spin around different ways, but it's all to keep us feeling powerless so that we don't try to do anything.
Yeah.
And as a community, we can come together and unite, because like you asked me the last time, we still have to come together and be a community that takes one another now more than any other time.
But what about those communities? When I say communities, those different groups, organizations, and circles that we of our social connections, our peer groups, there are those that are happening, and it takes a little bit at a time. And we know many of those communities that are doing it because we're part of those communities. We're in those same circles.
And I support those that are doing things that I believe
So
in.
we can't focus on what someone's not doing. We gotta bring it to them. I mean, you want to bring them along,
The only way to come out of denial is to recognize that you're in denial.
right? But how does a person get to that point? A person can't get to that point until they see it happening and hear it enough times. We have to continue to be in those circles that are making progress. People will, just like any other thing that has happened, just like you realize at a point because you were in circles that reinforce that understanding. Some people don't have those circles. Some people don't know where those circles are at. I can hear it on the news, right? You can hear this on the news. You can hear it on a radio show. You could be at a church event. But if you don't hear it reinforced again, what happens? It goes out of your mind because you feel like, well, that was just one time. It takes more than just hearing it one time. And yes, we are divided. But that doesn't mean that those circles of people that are doing stuff right now aren't being effective. And that can change the mindset of other people.
They can be effective, but people try to avoid.
Yeah.
And everything ain't supposed to feel good. Growing and changing is not a good feeling.
Right?
You can't tell me that this country isn't addicted to having its way.
Yeah.
Everybody, I have to have my way.
Right.
And to your feelings
Yeah.
until it comes back to bite them.
Right.
And I learned early in my recovery that when the pain of staying the same becomes greater than the pain of change, you'll then change.
Right.
Because we always take the lesser way.
Right. Well, speak more to that.
Here we are.
Speak more to that.
I can change, watch the bills pile up, and I'm guilty of a time in my life when I waited till I got the eviction notice to go ahead and get things straight, because I was into doing what I enjoyed doing, and that was not responsible.
Right.
But because it was just me, I felt I had the right to do it because I'm not hurting nobody but me.
Right.
And my own pain was familiar. So I kept doing it to myself until it came time for me to make a choice. Do I want to live or die?
Right.
And I chose life.
Understood.
I had to relearn. I had to everything. And what I learned was everything that I know it's subject to be revised.
Yeah.
Because what's true in my heart now, and as I read a scripture, when I first read that scripture, it resonated to me a different way, and I saw a different lesson at the time.
Right. Right.
And that's why, we have to understand that we need to be in touch with our feelings.
Yeah.
It's okay for me to feel what I feel. I don't have to like who you are, and if you like it, then I don't be it.
Yeah. But you made a
You
point.
have the right to choose your own life.
But you had made a good point about the coming together part. And within different communities are coming together. I had this other video by Angela Rye that mentioned that. And I mentioned earlier in the video that do we need other people to be successful in recognizing movements and grassroots movements and things of that nature. But Angela Rye made a point in this video about how we can bring others along. And as individuals, we say in the black community we're divided, but we have to continue to grab the hand of one and bring them along. And sometimes that can be troublesome because that person is resistant. Or, again, we go back to the willful ignorance of being ashamed and everything. So I want to play this video right quick. Let me know your thoughts on the other side of this.
Don't have the sound again. You're gonna end up having to start it over.
Okay.
am very much so doubting that the people who we need to do better by us have the capacity. Let me give you an example. I want to honor my elders. But we had a white woman, an elder white woman, come to Louisville. The first day, she was sitting there with her American flag shirt on, button up. And when I got in the room, I was telling them how this was a Black-focused, Black-centered movement to help provide relief, opportunity, and policy solutions for our people. I ain't had the mic down for 15 seconds before a sister girl pulled me to the side and said, "This is not just for Black people." I'm sorry. How you gonna tell me? How are you gonna tell me that this is not just for Black people? It is for Black people, because I'm one of the visionaries, ma'am. How? I don't even know your name, Alicia Keys. Like,
oh my God.
What are you talking about? How are you going to tell me that this is not for Black people? So I said, ma'am, that's what was going on the inside. That's not my response. I said, ma'am, this is for Black people. I said, we orchestrated it that way. And she said, well, no, because I'm here. And I said, and I'm so glad you're here. And she was like, but you have to go get more people like me so that you can be effective. And I said, ma'am, that is not my calling. That's your calling.
Thank you. Right. You go get more people who look like you.
That's right.
I'm not going to get them. That's not what I feel called to do.
Yeah.
So that was from Native Podland. That was from Native Land Podcast, and that's something that doesn't have to be with racial issues. It can be about the gun club community. It could be about the LGBTQ community. It could be for white men who feel they're being discriminated against. They say this is the reason, but for me, I don't get it because we've seen the opposite. But I'm willing to hear your story, your complaint. And the thing about it is that that's where discussions happen. You can have the issue with the schools and history classes. People say, no, take Black history out of classes. Others groups saying, keep it in. Well, you got to get more people who agree with Black history in class, and other people need to go bring their peers into the conversation so they can have a better understanding. And we always know that hearing it from our own gives us a different perspective and understanding. It could be any topic, but what Angela Rice said was so true. That lady who was there, that means she was there to support. Now she needs to go bring more friends so she can show them why they should support. That's how communication and community building happens, is bringing someone in. My wife, loves to look at things about, healthy eating. And so her son, which is my stepson, Sheldon, at 18 years old, he became a vegan. Stopped eating meat. And, I thought it was, okay, that's your thing. That's your thing. I'm going to eat meat. And then my wife stopped eating meat for a long period of time, over 10 years, I would say, or close to 10 years. And recently she started eating chicken again. But the point I'm making is, because she was into it, and even though she have started eating some chicken and things, or fish and things like that now in her diet, she steady stays into collecting videos and understanding of the well-being of our bodies and what we eat. That's what it boiled down to. It wasn't about not eating meat. It was more so, as she learned, was what are we putting in our bodies. So over a period of time, she pulled me in. And you've heard me talk about this before. So we're at the grocery store. I'm up here looking at labels now. What's in the ingredients? What are the things that I can't pronounce that's killing my body? But going back to Angela Rye was that I've heard this for years. But when you see people who are talking these talking points, but aren't living what they're talking, you don't see it in action, it's hard for me to grab onto it. But when you live with somebody, or friends who's doing it, you can be like, oh, wow, okay, I see it. I see the benefits. I see how I feel now that I've tried it. That goes along with any discussion that you may be willfully ignorant about or resistant to understand. Go ahead.
What you had said to start this, when you were talking about successful, words matter, and the use of words have meaning.
Right.
But this culture in America has taken any word and changed the meaning of it as the people decide this is how we're going to see this. CRT, DEI, a whole lot of things are vilified just because from the politicians at the top.
But you can remove the word.
Politician, you can remove the word, but if you hear that word said again and again, again and again and again, again and again and again, it's planted in your mind.
Right.
Here's a study. You remember Salem cigarettes?
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, I remember that whole story with the cigarette thing.
Right, but there was their slogan, and see, I'm going back to the Mad Men of marketing. You can take Salem out of the country, but you can't take the country out of Salem. They did that for a year.
Yeah.
Right. For the next 2 years, all you heard was, you can take Salem out of the country, but, and you in your head.
Yeah. Right.
And they do that right now with McDonald's.
Yeah.
They switch it up, right? They say, I'm loving it. Right. And we are a whole, I'd say, 4 generations in have it your way.
Yeah.
It was Burger King.
Right.
We've taken that away in all things.
I'm going to go back to what you said about CRT. You're saying how you say a word over and over and telling you that is bad, that is bad, that is bad. That's true.
No, they say CRT, but they applied CRT not to its true meaning.
Right, I agree. No, but what I was going to...
Everything they didn't like in the CRT. Oh, that's CRT.
Right, because see the thing, but this is how we were saying how you grab someone's hand and bring them along. The people who believe that couldn't tell you what CRT was if you showed it to them. So the difference is you don't even have to use the word CRT. You just show them the example of what it looks like. You don't have to mention it. You can use an example. We could get it's so many examples. There's so many examples out there. Let's look at a woman who has been abused by her husband, right? Let's just use that example, right? No matter the race, the culture, whatever. A woman who's been abused by her husband. The husband, for some reason, I mean, at this time, you could say I could say you can use two different scenarios. You can use court documented scenarios of a white husband and a black husband beating their wives. You can show the results of what happened when they were exposed of it. And I use two examples myself right now. When Ray Lewis knocked his wife out in that elevator, it was a cruel and heinous thing to see and to witness on public TV. In my opinion, Ray Lewis should have been arrested. Jamal Lewis, not Ray Lewis. It was, what was the running back's name? It wasn't either one of those two. I said Ray Lewis, I said Jamal, messed it all up. It was another running back. My brain is foggy right now. You got to Google it right quick. What was the guy's name? For some reason, I can't remember. But you know the story. He beat his wife in the elevator. They reconciled, went on, I think, national TV on an interview and said how they reconciled. They're still together. And the public still vilified this guy to where he never vilified. He never played football again. And we look at that as two situations where one community says they had empathy because they decided to reconcile and handle this amongst themselves. And there's another community that says he should never play football again. And as we see, he never, played football again. And for some reason, Ray Rice, that was the guy's name.
Ray Rice.
I just found Man, I was like, why can't I think of this guy's name? But Ray Rice. So now we saw that play out. We saw the effects of it. We saw how he's never played again. His career was ended. And for me personally, I'm cool with his career being over. I'm cool with it. I can handle that. I'm not upset with it. It was wrong. And the NFL made a stance. But then let's go to the kicker for the Buffalo Bills. The kicker for the Buffalo Bills was caught multiple times for domestic violence. I'm not sure if the team knew about it, but his wife was talking about it regularly. His wife turned around and had him arrested. All these things, and he was on the team until after a point. It was Josh Brown for the I couldn't remember his name either. It was Josh Brown for the Buffalo Bills, but finally he retired. But it wasn't the same scrutiny. Was it because we saw the video of Ray Rice? But this woman had police reports, had everything, had bruises, the whole nine. She had everything to show this. But the perception of what we see as people over and over again, we can use those examples and show you an example of CRT. Right in those examples, which is critical race theory. So you don't have to use the word CRT and talk about this conversation. And most men, especially men, will say that Josh Brown should have been kicked out of the NFL. But because it wasn't exposed. Go ahead.
Take this recent example of the horrible event where this guy threw Molotov cocktails on people.
Right. Mm-hmm.
My brother and I sat there, and for 2 days, see a picture of him.
Right.
I said, He's not a black. He's not black.
Yeah.
Because if he had been black, he would have been on that screen somewhere.
Yeah.
To say, see, this is afraid of black people.
Yeah.
But when you saw him, he didn't look black at all.
Yeah. No, I agree.
He was an African.
Yeah.
He was Egyptian.
Yeah.
Right. But the colorism that's there in this country.
Yeah.
Don't give black people a chance. The police officer that killed Tamir Rice.
Yeah.
Right. And showed a picture of Tamir Rice in a T-shirt. Right.
Yeah.
Poor baby. But the police officer that shot him, they showed his in a suit.
Yeah.
Hair combed off,
Right.
It's the picture that you put on people and then say, better look out for them.
Yeah.
Better,
But that's not the policy part.
But it permeates the decision making for those who are in control of what.
True. Yeah, because he got hired multiple times after that, from different departments, and that is another example of critical race theory. But the point I'm making is we just gave these examples, and you never have to say the word CRT. You never have to say the word.
Right.
So
Right.
that's where you grab a person by the hand and bring them in. They don't even realize it. That's just like you could use Obamacare. I know people who've I've heard these conversations about Obamacare. I'd never get Obamacare, but they got the Affordable Care Act. It's the same thing, It's like you.
That's what Obamacare is.
That's exactly.
They called it Obamacare before they found out they couldn't get rid of it, and then they named it Medicaid.
Right. So, but when you look at Obamacare and Affordable Care Act, it's the same thing. Or even in some cities, they change the name to something different to make people feel better. But the whole point of that is you have to be able to talk to people, bring them in, and if you want to ban or make an acronym sound hateful or to be a perception of hatefulness, there's other ways we can get the job done. We just have to be innovative enough to do it. And we hear it all the time on Karen Hunter's show and on Dr. King, Lamont King and Dr. Carr. We and you both listen to the same shows. And they talk about these issues. But if you listen to the way Lamont King approaches a situation, he doesn't approach it the same way out front like Dr. Carr. So you can have a person like yourself who's more out front, to the point, with no BS. I can be a person that says, I'd rather have the dialogue and see if I could draw you in. And we both reach the same destination. There's many ways.
You're in the workforce, right?
Well,
and you have to. It's been your nature.
True.
I'm not saying it's been your nature to engage in conversation. That's how we met.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Your wife was one of my customers.
Yeah.
When I was working.
That's X, by the way.
And that was back. That was me.
I mean, no. I'm just being real, so people won't get the. I want people to keep it in context of what we're talking about.
Right. But she, and then y'all moved to Texas, right? We had a couple things that we did in common, and things like this. But when I retired, I began to tell people, I'm too old to be scared or intimidated at this point.
Right. It's not about being scared or intimidated, though. It's how we approach things differently. That's all.
But they throw things at you because they think that it's going to work. You're being aggressive.
Yeah.
I know Dr. Carr has opened my mind. Dr. Black has opened my heart. I don't have to shrink myself.
True.
To be in communication with you.
Right.
But
totally
I
agree.
do have enough education to be able to talk to you on your level. And it's not me thinking I know it all. I know what I know.
Right.
I know it different.
I just think there's multiple ways to get to the same destination. That's all I'm saying.
Right.
It's multiple ways.
Of them are right.
And each of them are right. There's no wrong way for it. It's just that we do need to grow community and grow perspectives whether you want to hear me or not. And then you get to this point also. Don't get me wrong. I'm not one that's going to be persistent in trying to change somebody's mind. That's not what I'm talking about. When a person don't want to hear from me, is not willing to engage, I keep it moving. I ain't got time for it. I keep it moving. But I wanted to give the example we use as the word when you brought up CRT is that I can show somebody an example of TRC. They will agree with me that it's CRT. I said TRC, but CRT. They will agree with me that it's CRT and not even realize they're agreeing with me because I do not use the word CRT or critical race theory. They'll be right on board with me and not even realize it. That's what I'm talking about. And that's what Angela Rye was saying. You got to bring people in one at a time, but it's easier for your peers to do it. But lastly, man, I'm going to bring up one more for you. Because I thought this was good. So I watched Straw last night, right? Me and my wife, we watched Straw. The Tyler Perry movie with Taraji P. Henson. And without giving away the story for those who haven't seen it, it talks about a single mom who has a sick daughter. And she's trying to make ends meet. And I want to bring up 3 things that we have witnessed. Although you're 20 years older than me, maybe, somewhere around there, a little less. We've experienced these 3 things. And I'm not going to say just we, or someone we know. Okay, one is we've seen a black person of power look down upon people less than him. When I say less than him, that make less money, lower position, struggles where he don't have struggles or she don't have struggles, and they look down upon that person. We've seen that, correct? Okay. We've also seen where we've encountered a perception of being bad because of, let me take it back, not being bad. You're trying to do things to the best of your ability, but people view it as you being lazy or not enough because they see it. You could have did it this way and made it better. And you're like, I'm trying my hardest to do the best I can with the resources that I have. Yeah. So
and they could feel inadequate.
Inadequate. That's a proper word. Inadequate. Thank you. Mm-hmm. You're being inadequate, but yet you're doing all you can, but you're perceived as being inadequate. And lastly, I don't know how many communities deal with this. But I know there are a lot of vulnerable communities that deal with this. When I say communities, certain groups of people to where you break, you snap. And if you remember a few weeks ago, we talked about Rodney Hinton Jr., who some perceived as snapped when his son was killed by that police officer who said he had a gun, but there was no visible evidence of a gun in his hand from the body cam. And so Rodney Hinton Jr., after seeing the body cam video, got in his car, and as he was driving home, he drove over a police officer and killed him. And people are taking, because we haven't heard from him at all, his testimony. So the perception is he did this. From some communities, they say he did this in retaliation with his chin held high with no remorse. Then you had others say it was an accident. And then you have those that say he wanted to kill a cop. But with all that being said, my narrative stays the same as I feel this man snapped. I don't know if you know anyone who has snapped, lost it, and did something violent. Totally lost it. But we know this exists. And I'm sure that you can come up with some stories, just like I can, of someone who snapped, even if it's for a brief moment or if it's been for a duration of time. But this movie deals with those things. And we as a country, I'm not even talking about other world countries, I'm talking just here in the United States. We've talked to us about it many times. I have a lack of empathy, a lack of compassion, a lack of understanding. Actually, this whole conversation we've had today has been about lack of understanding, lack of communication, and lack of empathy. That's what this whole conversation has been about. So I want to put this video up. But before I go to this video, just tell me a little bit about what you would say as those three things of being inadequate, having particularly a black supervisor or a black person that was more of a fluent community or more power who looked down upon you. And if you know about a SNAP situation, just explain about some of that for me right quick before I go to this clip.
I'm retiree from the post office.
Oh, you saw a lot of snaps.
I saw a lot of snaps.
Okay.
I've seen people willfully try to excoriate me and get me fired.
Okay.
Those who tried to do it publicly, ones it aggressively under the table, behind the scenes, were my black supervisors. Some of them just my rep. But in talking to what you were talking about, all three things I've experienced from both. I've lost my temper. I've said things to my wife, my daughter, that out of anger shouldn't. With a person that's to have committed themselves to loving you. But I have no problem with
right
or coming back to restitution.
Right.
On my part in what's happening to me.
Right.
Right. We live in a society that says if you this, you take this, and you can feel something different. Or, I look at all of these different chemicals, and they say, well, if you have thoughts of suicide, you should consult your doctor.
Right.
Why would I put something in my body that's already going to make me think of suicide?
Right.
But we live in this heightened system where we're all in our own silos, and the difference between how I was raised, where I was raised in the Lee Harvard area of Cleveland, Ohio, that community, my parents knew somebody on all the streets.
Yeah.
They were all friends.
Yeah.
You knew who your neighbor was.
Mm-hmm.
Right? When I went to Twinsburg, to where my dad is from, and that neighborhood, that community beside the Chrysler plant, everybody knew everybody.
Yeah.
They knew the family. They knew who the kids belonged to. They let kids be kids. It wasn't they were bad kids.
But what does it take? But what is it? Go ahead.
It takes you to make the effort to know who lives beside you. You don't have to agree with them. You don't have to go in their house.
But does that stop the things from happening to people, though? That doesn't stop the things in those same communities. Another household had something going on that should have been exposed. I'm sure. That's what I'm talking about.
When the culture comes out, if we're going to change this culture, we have to do it, quote unquote, grassroots. That's person to person.
No,
and we have to.
I think you're misunderstanding where I'm going with it, though. With these three questions that I was asking, has nothing to do with culture, in particular. It has to do with someone feeling like the world is on their shoulders. That can happen in a fluid country. It can happen in a fluid community, a poor community, or a middle working class community. When I'm saying a supervisor looking down on you, or a black person in particular looking down, it doesn't have to be about community in that sense. It's about just basic humanity and respect. When I look at,
there is none.
No, but they're in certain areas. And the reason why I say that, because this movie pulls out these topics. Remember, we're going back to this movie. It goes back to the straw. And these different things happen where what leads up to a person to snap. And
Straw that broke the camel's
the
back.
straw that broke the camel's back. So that's where I'm going when
I want to see the movie first.
Right.
And I think I can.
Well, that's why I wasn't asking you about the movie. I wasn't asking you about the movie. I wanted you to talk about those three things because we've all been.
Each of it is individual. We were created individuals, right? And being black, you and I are black. How we are affected by our environment, by our action in life is unique because we were each created.
Agree.
So how I dealt with trauma and my drama as I grew up, somewhat different than yours.
I agree. No, I definitely agree with that.
And so that straw looks different to each of us, and each of us are in a different. If I were to spin it and in my understanding of the disease of addiction, my earliest learning was we're all sick in different areas at different.
Yeah.
And the reason why God did us perfect was so that we would need to be in community with each other to understand each other.
Totally agree.
It's this illusion we want to be like them because the grass is always greener, right? Until you get over there and realize this is just some grass. I had grass at home.
Yeah.
You know, that the water till the wood's dry.
I agree.
Right. So we just get caught up in our affluence and how it's so judgmental.
I think that also
that's what the extreme in our society.
I think also that as we continue to talk about community and building, and it is when you see these different, like I could look at someone as being lazy, and you automatically compare it to yourself. I've looked at other people who I feel that because I made a certain amount of money at a certain time that they weren't trying hard enough to get to that point. And not knowing exactly what's going on with that person's life. I've had time to grow. If you're not growing individually, you're not growing. You're not going to be any good to your family, community, or our society as a whole. But I want to play this clip right quick of this interview, and it caught me because Taraji P. Henson, who played the main character, how she was affected by playing this role.
Believe these characters, and that's the testament to Taraji and Sherry and Tiana. And so Taraji, Janiyah, she goes on an emotional roller coaster. We feel every emotion in that performance. How was it for you? How did you prepare emotionally to take this on?
Well, literally, she's on the page, so if I just commit to what's on the page and I believe it, then the audience is going to believe it. I'm a single mother. Have I had hard times? Absolutely. But the difference between Janiyah and I is that I had support. She didn't. And so I empathized with her. And that's what I wanted to show. I wanted to show what it looks like for a person to have all the odds stacked against them with no help whatsoever. And hopefully what we will invoke is more empathy from the audience to kind of err on the side of kindness when you come across strangers, because you never know what cross they're carrying or bearing. You never know what a person is going through.
Absolutely right.
And that goes back, so I owe you an apology because it goes back to what you said about the different communities of Lee Harvard and Twinsburg, about community, of knowing each other. In this situation, people didn't know who this lady was, but when you have that, and not like I said, not giving away all the story, I can tell you that the community, she didn't have a supportive community. So when you do have that supportive community, whether it's family or whether it's neighbors whether it's coworkers, whether it's classmates, whoever that may be. It can be that rock you lean on when you're going through tough times. And I think that when we look at our society now, I mean, I could go back to this Diddy trial, for instance. We can use this for an example. Some of the women and men that felt that they were violated by Sean Combs, they stuck with a community for self-gain to a certain extent. They stayed in that community. But they didn't have the support of community that looked out for their better interests, I would say. And I only say that because when you have that strong community, I feel that, and like again, this is just my perception. I can't say for sure because I've never been in that predicament. If you have a strong community, you can identify gaps where you can fall through cracks. That makes sense? You can feel it.
Absolutely.
I could have fell through a lot of cracks in my life. I literally could have, from the time I was in 8th grade until I would say literally my mid-20s, 25, 26. I had the possibility of falling through a many big cracks. If I did not sit back and think, wow, how did mom or dad, how would they handle this situation? Or do I want to let my family down? I mean, literally, I could have felt, and I could even go back even farther, Greg, to be truthfully honest with you. I had a crack that I could have fell through that was so big, that was so huge, that would have devastated my family's life, that would have ruined my life, would have ruined my kids' life. If it had not been for supportive family members who blocked me from executing a task that would have, like I said, would have went to my demise. I had an agenda on my mind, ready to go, like literally ready to go, because of an emotional I won't say it was an overreaction. I would say that it was emotional intelligence, the lack of emotional intelligence. And I don't want to go into details of the incident because it's not my incident to talk about. I have in the past, but I'm just been able to learn over the years to allow people to speak on their own situations, unless I've had their permission. But that crack could have been so big it would have ruined my life. But I had a supportive people around me who, without me even knowing it, blocked what I wanted to do.
And the time is here, and I've seen you do it when it's your turn to be the block for someone else.
Right. Agree.
That you know, I wrote down mom, dad perception. My perception of my parents has changed as I've grown.
Mm-hmm.
Now, my parents have been married coming up on 71 years in July.
Okay.
Right? My dad has been totally bedridden, hasn't stood on his own feet, doesn't know at any time who anybody is for the last 18 months.
Okay.
Watched the deterioration of dementia and Alzheimer's for the last 30 years.
Right.
I thought they were Mr. and Mrs. Perfect.
Right.
My dad don't drink or smoke. You know, they tried to keep me from the street, not understanding why. When I became retired in 2016 and started listening to Karen Hunter, I then realized, as I learned the history and put tapes together, I put this together, I was 6 months old Emmett Till. Right? I was 8 months old with the Montgomery boycott.
Yeah.
My parents tried to keep me from being in them streets.
Yeah.
And down on 55th.
Yeah.
You know, to give me a chance to get to school, to get some education.
Right.
Right.
No, that makes sense.
They invested their whole life into making sure my brother and I survived.
I don't think kids realize it. They don't realize it.
We had a structure. I had a square, 5 streets, 2 left and right, north and south, 5 streets. Couldn't go beyond those borders. Right? I had to learn how to get along with other kids. I learned how to deal with bullies. Didn't, you know, things. The kids, I wasn't black enough kids, and I wasn't accepted by kids.
Right. I get you. I understand.
Right? And I tell folks, I was homeschooled, and then they sent me to school.
Right.
At the same time.
Yeah.
Every day.
Yeah. No, that's
when
real.
You have that, when you have that, you it's easy to be judgmental about someone who has had to struggle so that they feel it's okay that I can take this from you because you'll get it back. You got insurance. I can take it. I may never get a chance to have that. Right?
Yeah.
Have a gun stuck in my face. To own the job. You know, we don't know people's story.
Yeah.
And Jesus said, love your neighbor. Right? But who is your neighbor?
Everyone.
Everyone is my neighbor.
Everyone.
So and we dealing with the corporate property managers and lords and stuff. They keep changing things and don't building because it's aged building. But at 70 years old, I'm not mobile as I used to be.
Yeah.
I'm on a walk.
Yeah.
You know, my wife married me in my 50s, and she was born disabled in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
So I know what needs to be done. I just don't have the physical ability to do a lot of things to be done, and you don't have anybody to come and help.
Right.
But you learn to be a good neighbor. I know who lives on either side of me. And if I can help somebody, I can.
Right.
And I will.
You remind me of one of the characters. You remind me of one of the characters in the movie, man. Actually, when you see it, you will know who I'm talking about. Not exactly like this person, but you will understand what I'm saying as being neighborly. So anyway, man, we had a minute, we had an hour and 20 on the show. We way over time, but I really appreciate you, man.
Well, you can cut it down. You can cut it out.
Yeah, no, we gonna keep it like it is. We gonna let it go live like it is. So I want to just say thank you again, but we just keep these communications going on about building community and letting people understand the importance of it. So as we head out, give me 30 seconds, man. What's your final word for today?
My is to understand empathy is not sympathy. And you need to look up the definitions. If I can't feel your pain, if I can't sit and lament with you and cry with you, then I'm not being empathetic. Everybody's good at being said, oh, I'm so sorry. You know, but that's like thoughts and prayers.
Yeah.
I know how thoughts and prayers work. It comes from my heart, and I put it to God, and He'll take care of you.
Yeah.
That's where I put my thoughts and prayers. But I care about you. That's the empathy.
I like that.
That's my final.
No, I like that. You know, my final thing is, I was in service in our church last week. We were talking about, those that know God have His light inside of us, and that. But when reality, how many of us allow God's light to shine through us to other people? And I want to do more of that. I think I've been doing more of that, but it's not me. The thing about it, you don't have to let people know that you're trying to let God's light shine through it. You just do it and they recognize it. So I want to be more in that vein of allowing people to see God's light shine through me. And at certain times of my life, I feel like I'm not doing enough. And I just want to be able to continue to be the best version that God wants me to be for other people. And that's my thing for today.
Tomorrow is Pentecost.
Mm-hmm.
Tomorrow's Pentecost. And that you are God's testimony to the world.
I believe that. Definitely believe that.
And if that's you who are listening to us talk,
Mm-hmm.
I want those who see this understand you are God's testimony.
Yeah.
That's why you're here.
Totally agree with you, man. So with that, man, we're going to be out.
Take us out.
And I will be hollering at you, my brother, on the next show. Peace to all y'all, man.